it's a blast to have you all here. Thanks so much for coming, for making the effort of traveling and so on. Really, thank you.
Pleasure is ours.
We really appreciate it. We know it's not the same with the 600 people that we have every year, but the ones that are here is because they've made a lot of effort, and I think it's very special to me that they are here today.
Lovely living room.
Yeah, nice living room. Yeah. Nice living room. Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me introduce them to you properly because I think they deserve it. Thomas, a good friend of mine, marketing activist, advisor, sustainability normalizer, international speaker, author. You can call him Mr. Good Advertising if you prefer. And he's advised many companies, Fortune 500, small startups, governments. I think you've done everything now, Thomas. He's the founder of the Global Good Advertising movement, an internationally recognized keynote speaker, also writer in many different media, and also regularly judging international award shows such as Cannes. So thanks very much, Thomas, for being here. Here next to me, I have Cecilia. Cecilia Llorens. She's an executive board member at Camper and also product design director. She has more than 10 years of professional experience in fashion and retail, majoring in international communication and with several specializations in fashion and culture. And she's always trying to maximize the creative side. So thanks so much for coming, Cecilia.
Thanks to you. It's my pleasure.
It's great to have you here. And I just met Cecilia some weeks ago. I'm super happy that you can make it.
Gracias.
And then last but not least, Pepe. Pepe is a special person as well, very close to our sustainable brands community, at professional level, at personal level, in the States, here with us in Spain, helping us with this special journey during this COVID time, which was hard for everybody. Pepe is a marketing and thought leader, keynote speaker with solid expertise across the marketing mix, and he's built a strong track record on revitalizing brands by inspiring teams to deliver breakthrough brand strategies. And before HP, because at HP he's the global head of brands and agencies innovation, Jose led for more than 20 years the marketing strategy and execution of many well-established brands. Thanks again for being here. And I'm just going to start with my first question. Actually, I have Thomas and Cecilia. They're going to give us insights on how to actually use communication from the brand to actually drive and advance on consumers' sustainability behaviors. And also Pepe, actually I've invited Pepe because Pepe is an expert on a very important thing, which is the packaging creativity. And I think we usually forget about that. We forget about the packaging, sorry, Pepe, and we shouldn't, no? Actually, I think I have a slide over there. I'm following the Cannes Lion effectiveness code. Packaging is the second most effective media channel after social media, Pepe, no? And I think it's gonna be good. Can we see that slide?
Click one more time, I think.
Yeah, one more time, maybe. And I think it's important that we include the packaging in the conversation today. So, yeah, we're going to speak about that also. So, well, I start with Thomas. Thomas, I have a video from a friend of you. I have a video from Simon Cook, which is the general director of Cannes Lion. He's talking about the evolution of Cannes, that Cannes witnesses when it comes to brands for good. Shall we have a quick look at that, and then we comment on that, you and me?
Let's say hi to Simon. Yes.
Okay. Please, let's listen to Simon for a minute.
Hello, I'm Simon Cook, and I'm the Managing Director of Lions, the home of creativity. And we exist to drive progress through creativity, whether that be on a personal level, for business growth, or just to create positive change in the world. And we work with global organizations throughout the year to help them make the case for creativity. Now, when it comes to the work, we've introduced the Sustainable Development Goals Lions. That was a few years ago now. And that recognizes and shines a spotlight on progressive, creative work that aims to advance the 17 goals originally laid out by the UN. Many pieces of work that have gone on to win a lion in the SDGs have had their moment and glory and gone on to scale and create positive change in the world on a much larger level because of the power of the lion. And the entry fees to this very unique award are donated to causes which directly support the SDGs. So in recent years, we've seen the rise of work that features messages around sustainability, of course. And at first, it was about generating awareness, but we've seen a shift in the last 2 years. We're now seeing work that moves the conversation from talking into action. So brands are fast becoming activists within their own right. And a few years ago, many pieces of work were criticised for greenwashing and attaching themselves in a very tenuous way to causes around sustainability. And increasingly what we're seeing is creative solutions that not only support the global sustainability agenda, but also complement the central brand strategy of the organisation and also drive profit for the brand, proving that it now pays to offer authentic, sustainable action when you're in a position of power or influence like a big global brand. And primarily because people are now demanding it and increasingly holding them to account. So when the festival returns next year in 2022, it will host increasingly meaningful conversations that will drive action in our industry. That's the hope. And at Lions, we believe that we exist to drive, as I said, progress through creativity for business, for change, and for good. Imagine what we could achieve if we were able to unite the most creative minds on the planet to drive progress. I'm really delighted, really pleased to be able to talk to you virtually today to offer a few thought starters on this very important topic. Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks to Simon. Thomas, do you share this diagnostic of Simon? And directly, when you need to integrate sustainability into communication, what are you usually most worried about?
Yeah, I think maybe for those of you who don't know Cannes Lions, how many of you know Cannes Lions? Hands up.
Everybody knows Cannes?
So basically,
not everybody, half of it.
Yeah, so basically Cannes Lions is a sort of the Oscars of marketing, as stupid as that might seem, but it's a global award. We like to recognize ourselves in advertising, right? So, but what's interesting about what Simon says is that there are more than 36,000 pieces of work globally that are entered into the Cannes Lions. So in some ways it does show how our industry is moving. I think for me personally, I've started with my very first book, Good Advertising, which was in fact provoked by COP15. So as a 30-year-old young creative, I got incredibly angry about the lack of commitment from our industry. So obviously I'm pleased now to see that finally there are progress being made. Yet I do think that we at the moment are faced with quite a big challenge. Because I think what I have witnessed is more and more brands standing up to these challenges and listening to surveys from Harvard's Meaningful Brands and others that says, yes, people expect us to do something. But it does seem that there are two central issues. One is the trust, that they actually don't believe us. They don't believe the efforts we're doing. I think Glasgow, it was obvious that 2030 pledges, 2040 pledges, is not going to push anyone anywhere because young people want action now. And lastly, I think the business case behind purpose, because when a decade ago, I think it was extremely clear that purpose delivered profitability, differentiation in the market space. But one of the key things I'm worried about is now when every brand out there wants a purpose, puts on the hero cape, talks about how good it is for the world, who then generally to trust, and how do you then differentiate in the market? So I do think that I'm seeing a a slowing business case for purpose, in fact. So I think we're faced with quite a few challenges: lack of trust, lack of speed to market with solving issues, and obviously for all of us in this room that has to talk to the CFOs and the CEOs of this world, how do we put a convincing argument forward for the role of marketing?
Activist is a big word, no? Activist means going to prison, no? Activist means confronting police. Activist is I have my opinion, I'm with you over there. Cecilia, I like very much your camper approach when you mix communication and sustainability, no? When you look at camper, and I guess you'll agree with me, your camper your camper brand maintains the spirit of irony, non-conformity, disruption, no? That made a camper popular during the 80s, yeah? But when you look closely in sustainability, you are quite humble. And
we try.
You try.
I mean,
Why? Why do you try? What do you do?
We are, I think I would say, a quite unique brand. I don't know how familiar you are with Camper.
Camper, everybody knows Camper? Yes? Everybody, look, you're fans.
Well, it's a family company based in Mallorca with more than 140 years of tradition in shoemaking, which really gives a solid foundation when thinking of authenticity, when thinking about the reality. So really sustainability is really at the core of the actions, in the sense of like the commitment towards the future, which is really, really important. But it's true that when we communicate what we do, we know that sustainability is a very massive word that it's used for so many things that what we wanted, and we came up with this idea of like a little better, never perfect, which I think sums up all our intention, all our objectives. It's really the umbrella under everything we do in terms of sustainability, which shows that at the end, we want to be real, we want to do things a little bit better, but that we know that there is a long way to do and a long way to run in order to do things better. So yeah, this is like really our effort, just to be better every day, step by step, and to approach also to the consumers in this way.
Mm-hmm. There are no sustainable brands, really, I'm sorry to say, even though you came here, but still no, maybe someday, no? So, Pepe, I would like to have your point of view on the packaging side, okay? How we can provide meaningful interactions with consumers in an authentic way, no? And how we can use packaging and the digital packaging to drive all those behaviors of consumers towards sustainability.
Excellent. So before I answer the question, thank you for having us here. I'm going to ask a question to the audience. How many of you know about digital printing? Raise your hand if you know a little bit about it. Okay, good. Usually that's not the case, but
they are
I
experts,
think
you know.
One of the important things about digital
Many
printing...
digital printing fans.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're in a nice community here. Now, the reason I say this is because, let me tell you quickly a personal story to answer your question. At the end of my career at Mondelez, before I joined HP 4 years ago, I truly lacked purpose as a person. I really was fed up with just trying to wear the hero cape as a brand and just make sure that your message is the best message out there and competing between many other brands. And when I bumped into HP and I discovered that actually digital printing can help us reduce 30% of packaging waste across the globe, if every brand would be using it, I said, this is something interesting that I really want to be part of. And on top of that, reduce 80% of carbon emissions when printing. So when you combine those two factors alone, I said, I have to come to a community like Sustainable Brands to see how we create our moonshot, like we were hearing about moonshot in the morning. And that's our moonshot right now. So our mission is basically to transform the industry from analog to digital on packaging specifically, because we believe that after the pandemic, brands have so many great stories to tell. But one of the important factors in creating meaningful interactions is how you give a voice to the community. It's not about the brand. Mm-hmm. It's about the community. Mm-hmm. So basically, I believe that the responsibility is not only to print better for the planet, but then what type of messages can you put out there that empower the community to drive positive behavior change? And that's at the heart of what we do in digital printing, because one of the beauties of it is you can personalize the content, like you do today on social media and many other platforms. Packaging, I like to tell people that what we do at HP Graphics is the same thing that Facebook is trying to do in personalizing messages, but in a physical experience. And after COVID-19, it has been so important because, as we all know, e-commerce has doubled its size just the first 6 weeks after the pandemic broke out. And it has put another value into the physical experience. So you can capture messages that are important to remind people about driving positive change. If I ask any of you, do you remember an advert on Instagram from 7 days ago? Probably not, because there's so much content out there. And I would add into what you were saying, Thomas, that there's a lot of lack of trust out there that we need to overcome as brands. But there's also a lot of saturation of content, screen fatigue, anxiety for our planet, our climate, anxiety because we're not healthy as a human race right now with COVID, all of us wearing masks. So we need to help our community overcome these factors. And we believe, as you showed from the Cannes Lions work, packaging is now becoming much better than social media at doing that.
Thomas, I wanted to talk to you about differentiation. No? Yeah. This is something that we are completely obsessed. I mean, the marketeers, no? The marketeers, the marketers. I still consider myself as a marketeer. So, how to differentiate in sustainability communications if we have sustainability claims everywhere? No, everybody. No, it's fashionable now, which is good for our purpose. No, but how can we differentiate?
Yeah, I think there's two things to it, because I think a lot of us are, in fact, passionate about building a better today or tomorrow. And I think from people's point of view, obviously it's good that we have so much sustainability conversations out there. We should be happy about that, because if we go 10 years back, that was not what you were seeing in the commercial break. Yeah. So that is raising awareness. I think the challenge that I sort of felt, and why in fact I wrote the last book, The Hero Trap, was in fact that I saw, wait a moment, all these brands talking about sustainability, it's almost become what long-lasting taste was for chewing gum in the 80s. It's just this thing you tag on. Sustainability, sustainable, green, purposeful, all this stuff. And so I asked myself one question, which was in fact, what leader, brand, organization have created positive change in my life? And for me, it was a sort of tough question to answer, and try and reflect on that, in fact, because suddenly we have in the supermarket aisle hundreds of brands that all claim, from Mondelez to P&G to Nestle to, they're all so purposeful. So I thought, strange that I haven't felt it. They haven't really changed anything. So for me, that was the test that I said, that maybe it's not the why that people are buying anymore or the actions, it's actually who you can help them become. It's actually focused right now on behavior change. And I think a lot of you in this room, the big challenge is third tier. How do we, one thing is the washing powder, but as soon as it's in the hands of consumers, or if you're the beer maker, that impact is important. And I think that's where I feel at least the real authenticity is. It's when a brand, a leader, an organization have in fact done something positive in my life, have made me change my behaviors. I think that's the next frontier of purpose right now. And the difference between standing up on the pedestal and saying, we have high values, to actually, for me, to be able to feel that in my daily life. I think this is where the hammer hits the nail and authenticity is created. Yeah.
You are speaking about a very clear transformational promise, no? Yeah. Very clear thing, no? Yeah. And very tangible as well, which is not usually the case, no? That's interesting. We'll come back to that word you mentioned, the sustainable behaviors, okay? Yeah. We'll come back to that. Cecilia, I wanted to ask you, how important is for Camber to get your purpose right? I mean, how do you see purpose in your company?
Well, I think not only for Camper, in general, this is essential, I would say, because at the end is what drives all the actions, no matter if we are talking about governance, if we are talking about communication, if we are talking decisions related to packaging. I mean, the purpose, the mission is really essential. Internally, also as a team, it really creates a motivation and it makes sure that everybody works with alignment, let's say. But it's also the way you could also connect with the consumers in the sense of if you do it right, forgetting this approach related to greenwashing that we know that now it's like, well, everywhere. The reality is that the purpose is really the essence of everything. It's also what is connected to this idea of long term, which is really important, how we could make this impact in the future. From our side, going now specifically into Camper, we define that walking with purpose is really our mission, because this is very related to this idea of delighting people with what we know to do. That is really about making shoes. I mean, we do shoes at the end of the day, but of course, the how we make these shoes is what can be the difference. So this is about, okay, can we make shoes that have the best quality? Can we make shoes that are better in terms of materials, that are also more unique in terms of design, but with a great comfort? So this is everything that we try to put together related to this idea, this mission that is really like the umbrella for anything that we do in terms of action. So this is really the core of everything.
Can I ask you if young people want to work at Camper or not?
Yeah. The team is super young.
I was sure. I saw the photos.
Of course, depends on departments. Not the same on every department, but in general, it's quite young.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
Pepe, you always say you like to give a voice to your audience, no? You always speak about co-creation. You spoke before. I think the one-size-fits-all era is finished already, no? Could you explain a bit more about that? Could you elaborate on that for us?
Absolutely. So, first of all, the journey at HP for us in my first 4 years in the company has not only become about how to use packaging for a greater good, but how to become experts on a key trend called personalization. People want more and more personalized experiences in any way they can get them. So what we asked ourselves is, how do we drive this in a way that people actually authentically engage with the brand? And it's all about giving them a voice. We'll share a few visuals from case studies that we've done over the years on how brands have learned that it's not about them, it's about how you activate and empower the community to co-create. Because in the end, it's a shared responsibility that we have to take care of our planet. It's not only about the brands, it's not only about the governments, it's not only about the people, it's about working together. So co-creation for me, I like it to be a word when I die, you know, that it's in my tombstone that defines me, to be honest.
Co-created.
Exactly.
Maybe
you can
he
tell
was
me
a co-creator.
how my tombstone might look like.
Okay.
But it's very important because we've learned not only that it's a better way to do marketing, it actually works. We have a lot of research and data that proves through Cannes Lions and WARC, which is a company that works with Cannes Lions in the analytics of these campaigns, that it's better to drive user-generated content in your packaging and celebrate it. People absolutely love that. When their voice is reflected in the packaging, it's not about just putting your name in it and making it look good. It's about any given topic, you know, working against climate change, getting rid of packaging in the world, things like that. People immediately, it resonates with them and they become part of a movement. So how you start activating that movement is what we give as a service to our clients, which are the brands. And this forum here is perfect to activate that purpose, talking about purpose from Camper. So.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, community, no? How to create and nourish the community, how to give them voice, no? I think we were discussing with the B-Lab team the other day, no? Creating communities seem sometimes easy, but then nourishing them, giving them voice, no? Taking care of them, no? Thomas, I would like to go deeper into this superhero role you described before. You have your beautiful book that I've read already, which is wonderful and fun. aren't we too full of big statements? Do we maybe need more humanistic conversations, humanistic claims from peer to peer? Not still the brand over there, here we are. No, we are superheroes, we are going to save all the problems of this Earth planet, and how we can make it better.
Yeah, I think in fact, I think all of us have been in building brands now for most of us in this room, and the strange thing is that we didn't change when it came to purpose and societal difference. So we just thought, okay, we just go from talking about having the best product in the world to being best in the world. And evidently, that's not really that trustworthy, is it? So I think that was a sort of, and I did the mistake with the first book, with Good Advertising, in fact, that I thought, hey, yes, let's do that. Let's create sort of hero brands because we know people want us to play a meaningful role in the world. And so, in fact, what shifted my perspective was some of the things that I talked about earlier, but also, how do we create behavior change? I mean, how do we, in fact, create behavior change? And not only behavior change for good, but also how do we get people to adopt our products or services? And the thing that provoked my second book, the first book was lack of our elected government officials to do anything about climate at COP15. The second book was my own inability to create change in my own life. I actually thought that it was really tough to adopt sustainable behaviors. So I thought, hey, wait a moment, what can I do with that? And I think for those of you who smoke, you'll probably recognize this easily, that your loved ones can tell you to put away the cigarettes, your children, your doctor, these awful images and the packaging. But by the end of the day, the only one who can create that change is, in fact, ourselves. So I thought, why don't we start building brands differently? Build them around things like paying respect to people's individuality, aspirations, challenges. So I think what I wanted to do was create life-centric brands. Brands that look at what are the challenges, aspirations that we have, and really pay respect to that. And in fact, so the key question that came out of that was, who can you help people become? So moving brands from being preachers to being coaches. And what was so interesting about that journey, I think, was that you suddenly put me at the very center of everything. And then I think you unlocked the behavior change part, and you avoided that sort of hero narrative, because suddenly I'm sort of the hero in my own life. And I think also it goes very well with what I see from young generations today, which is also another pretty disappointing fact, is that people actually don't really look to companies that much anymore as the change agents. But Cone Communication did a study where they said that actually today 48% of young people believe in themselves as the agents of change. And I think we see that, I experience that on a daily basis, that people are like, yeah, I can do this. Why should I sit and wait around? And one of the guys interviewed for the book was, in fact, Mark Pritchett from Procter & Gamble.
Yeah.
And he actually shared quite an interesting quote with me. He said, we have 180 years of history at Procter & Gamble. We have some of the most talented research and developers employed. But by the end of the day, people don't trust us. They trust an 18-year-old kid that makes soap out of his mom's basement. Yeah. So that's the challenge. So I think we really need to change the perspective on leadership. And actually, for me, the best leaders I've had in my life have often been educators, school teachers, because they helped me grow, they learned me new stuff. And I think that's the same that needs to happen with brands today.
Beautiful. I like this phrase, who can you help them become, as a brand?
So not the why, why do we exist in the world, but who can you in fact help me become?
Just very connected to those sustainable behaviors as well. Cecilia, I'm going to be a bit picky now. I mean, how important are beliefs to driving brand communication? I mean, now even Kotler said in his latest book that we all need to be activists. So, I love Kotler, by the way. We had them here. We had him here 2 years ago online, and he was marvelous. But I mean, are we ready, as a marketing community, really to be activists? No, I know this brand, Ben & Jerry's, the person that is driving all the action of the brand is actually an activist. And his title is activist. No? Are we ready as marketers to drive all that change? We are usually more worried about the insights than about the impact, aren't we? Am I right or not?
Yeah, I think you're right. But I want to stay optimist and think that this is the next step. I think now that, we are in this world where we hear this sustainability everywhere, the next step will be also like the consumers will want to know then what is behind that. And I think this is where an approach related to honesty and to an approach that is more humble, it's really important. It's clear that the brand activism has become the fundamental extension of brand marketing that nowadays, but it's not so much about what is the voice. It's not enough with the voice, but also what is the cause that you support. And behind the cause is like, okay, what is the issue you want to face? What is the problem? But then how do you do that? And then also how you measure that in the future. So this is the thing that what can make the difference. That's why the idea of long-term becomes again important. And beliefs are also what is really connected to these actions. You need these beliefs to really also guide you to do the proper actions. Just to also go more concretely in the way we approach that, from our values that are really related to this idea of authenticity, real and caring, we define also the territory of the Mediterranean, which is, for example, really our reality, okay, coming from Mallorca, coming from Spain and that. And the way we approach also the partnerships and the actions are with other people that are connected to that, no matter if it's more related to the planet, where we do like collaborations with Save the Met or Mallorca Preservation, which have like specific projects, which is not something that is like just whatever project, that's something very, very tangible about. But at the same time, how we approach that is that the way we want to be activists is also by doing the best possible product. And I want to go there because at the end, this is what we do. This is what has the biggest impact in terms of CO2. This is what really is connected to the materials and that. And the way we think we need to approach that is also by having the product with the best possible quality. Because we believe that the best way of being sustainable is by approaching this with quality. Quality in terms of long-lasting, in terms of design, in terms of durability, in terms of performance. And at the same time, this approach of sustainability, we are also aware that has to come from the beginning, from the design. That the solutions are not going to come at the end of the process when everything is done. The solutions have to start from the very beginning, connected to innovation. And this is how we can get really the trust that Thomas was referring before, because it's the only way in which you can be authentic, if you really focus on what you know how to do best. And this is really like the core of our beliefs.
It sounds like common sense, which is always very well appreciated.
It is common sense, because it doesn't have to be more complex than that.
Yeah.
At the same time also, it's like when you try to, quality and a good design is like the real approach.
It sounds good. What do you think, Thomas? Do you think that we are more obsessed about insights than about delivering the impact as marketers? Come on.
I think there's a definite shift happening right now. I think, and I think it's great, in fact, that brands are suddenly growing up to not only looking at the ROI, but also at the actual impact of a lot of the stuff they're doing. And I think, as Simon said from Cannes Lions, I think a lot of it and a lot of the conversations right now is obviously around measurements. So when we do something, we actually want return from those investments. So I think that's growing up. That's a growing trend. I think unfortunately, I think still marketing is lagging behind. The World Federation of Advertisers, which represents all the national associations, did a survey recently, and I'm sure the numbers are the same for Spain. I actually didn't check this morning. I should have done. But and they said marketing compared to any other part of the organization, whether it's research development, leadership, etc., marketing is the one that is lagging the most behind in sustainability. And I think that's sad for our community, because I think it's fundamental that we do understand. I think all of us in this room get it, but but I think our colleagues, we need to bring them away on that, or bring them on that journey of understanding what's actually the real impact of this. How do we change these behaviors? How do we get people to keep using the campus shoes and return them when they don't need them? All that stuff. So I think that part we still need to work on. And I think creativity is a great component of that as well. How to do that in an imaginative, creative, and impactful way.
Definitely, no. We have a superpower to drive those sustainable behaviors. I think actually Pepe has been working on it with as well with us. Pepe, maybe you could share like some examples quickly, maybe, so
Absolutely.
the audience gets the
I think
thing.
it's really nice, this part, because you can tangibilize much better by looking at
Exactly.
the world of what we actually
examples.
print. So
You're going to see it over there.
I forgot the clicker, but if you click one more, one of the things that we have discovered is we did a huge personalization research 4 years ago. We analyzed close to 50 million conversations on social media to become personalization experts. And we created a need state model on personalization. And this is a very important tool we use to help brands innovate. Thomas was talking about the creativity. This is a driver of creativity because it really guides brands into how you tap into personalization from a brand-centric and human-centric way at the same time. One territory there, mindful materialism, is where we actually discovered there's a huge intersection between personalization and sustainability. People who want to do better, but at the same time, they want their voice to be recognized individually. And that's the little secret sauce that I give you today, I think, from what we have learned, that has been allowing and empowering brands to win out there in the marketplace. Let me put you in the shoes of a grandmother in Korea, 70-year-old person who has never had the ability to read or write.
Yeah.
Kleenex took this as a challenge, and they said, we want to empower the Korean community of grandmothers because many of them have this challenge. They've never had the ability to read and write. Imagine how limited you are in a world where you can't do that. And after 70 years of age, they went to a school provided by the brand to enable them to do that. And they started discovering for the first time ever how to get along the city, to get into the right bus, arrive at the right location, how to read the map. Basic things that we take for granted. And basically what they did as a thank you note to the teachers is they wrote a poem to the teachers enabling these women to achieve that. All of those poems, of course, I cannot read Korean, but are very nicely crafted in the Kleenex box. On top of that, you overcome a marketing challenge as a brand, which is, what do you do with the Kleenex box at home? You cover it up, right? You decorate your home. The Kleenex might be there, but the branding is gone. Because of the poems and how it deeply resonated with consumers, their branding was visible at home because it has a much deeper purpose than just trying to do marketing for the sake of doing marketing. Another story I'd like to share, Sandra, is elephants. Maybe you've seen this before, but we actually co-created 400,000 bottles because there are 400,000 elephants remaining in Africa, and in 10 years they will disappear because of poaching. We created a website, the brand did with their agency, where they invited consumers to design each of those 400,000 elephants in a unique way and give them a name. And they launched a beautiful campaign called Name Them, Save Them, in connection with an NGO there. It was a beautiful campaign that allowed them to really change how the community is activated to help the brand protect our biodiversity as a planet. And because the packaging is so visual and so physical and so evident, it really becomes a really good, trophy for people to keep and remember the effort of this brand. Vettel from Reckitt Benckiser. They completely removed their logo from the pack to give the voice to the people. They created 300,000 stories of people helping in India overcome the pandemic and how they are locally activating their community to make a difference, to put their little grain of salt and overcome such a tough challenge. And for a brand like Dettol, removing your logo from the pack is not an easy task, you know. You really have to have the courage to stand up in front of your management team to say, we're going to remove this and we're going to celebrate people who are making a difference in India in such a tough time. And one of the last campaigns is about coffee. Coffee, you know, it's a very simple product. We take it for granted. We drink it in the morning every day. And you were talking about people who smoked, right? Are you a smoker?
No, I have many other bad habits, but smoking is not one of them.
We don't know about
Imagine
that.
you were, and you invite me for a Christmas dinner,
Yeah.
and I show up with a jar of coffee, and you will go like, Pepe, why do you bring me a jar of coffee for a Christmas dinner? I was expecting wine, flowers, chocolates, whatever. And what we did is...
Or Amarula.
Or Amarula,
Or Amarula,
even better,
right.
to save the elephants. Absolutely. But what we did is we created with the brand, using that personalization framework, a concept which was begin to become a better version of myself. So a lot of people like to celebrate New Year's resolutions. And all of us probably share that insight that as of January 1st, we have a mission to become that better version of ourselves. We co-created 3,000 resolutions on social media between Nescafé and their consumers in Mexico that we celebrated across all of those coffee jars. So when I showed up at Thomas' doorstep to have a dinner with him for Christmas, I go, there you go, begin to stop smoking. And it's so important because the brand is there in your kitchen every day in the morning, and you would visibly be reminded of that personal commitment you have with yourself. But also Thomas will remember me and say, Pepe, I know you care about me, and thank you for giving me that gift because it's enabling me to remember such an important commitment that I have to become that better version of myself. So many brands are beginning just to wake up now to this better way of doing marketing, and the results are amazing because people really engage in a more authentic way. You talked a lot about lack of trust. This is bringing a lot of authenticity to what they are doing, because the power is in the community. It's not in the brand. The brand is just an enabler. The real power is in the community. So I think at some point we're going to show a little video.
Yeah. In
maybe
1
later.
minute, I think those examples were super nice, Pepe, because I think it helps to understand like the thing. We'll come back to that video in a minute. Thomas, I wanted to ask you, brands that have fans, not consumers, that is based on a good story doing and on a good storytelling. What do they have in common, those kinds of brands who have fans and not consumers?
Yeah, just in general, I don't really like the consumer word. I think you
I hate it.
knock in a
I think it should
specific
be
role for
forbidden,
people.
the word consumer. I think we should talk about citizens or, I don't know, people, no?
Yeah,
Whatever.
people. Yeah, what do they have in common? I think one of the things that's really changing is, just as we're starting to talk about purpose, unfortunately, I do sort of see the rise of a post-purpose landscape, in fact, that now we're already like, in some markets, Northern Europe specifically, I think people are like, it's too much. I think one of the key things is, in fact, this thing you talked about, you said sort of vehicle.
Yes.
I think a lot of those brands that are successful are the ones that actually do business on our term, not on the brand's term. I mean, I still feel that it's incredibly... I was just moving a house recently in Copenhagen, and I had the phone company. You have the classic thing with the phone company that, yes, I know I signed that contract, but I don't want to be a customer anymore. And they still have this 6-month retention period. I mean, think if we did that in relationships. I mean, you are together with your girlfriend and you're like, sorry, Thomas, it's not working out, but you have to stick around for 6 months more. You know, I think really this business on my terms is so crucial. And this was something I picked up with a lot of those brands, small challenger brands, big brands like IKEA, was in fact, how do we do this? How do we actually open up and respect people? How do we respect the stakeholders? I mean, take IKEA as a good example. Earlier on with what they had was, we all have the Billy bookshelf or one of the cupboards somewhere. Usually you would say, you know, we protect this with copyrights, nobody else should be doing something. Right now, they opened up this whole maker community where designers can design the cupboard fronts, etc. And I think it's really this change of saying, how can we enable, engage people? How can we respect them, the creativity, the dreams and aspirations? And I think that's probably the major shift. I think when a lot of us are complaining about people not being engaged, maybe it is in fact because we don't open up for engagement. We don't ask them, we don't give them the possibilities to do so. And I see this fundamental shift across the whole marketing mix, from pricing to how we do campaigns, even to distribution. One good example there is in fact that, you know, back in the days when you wanted to rent a car, you had to drive down to Avis. You had to wait in a queue to pick up the car, to finally, before delivering it back, you had to put fuel on it, and there it is. Today you have, such as the car maker BMW that did the Drive Now program. I can pick up the car wherever I want, open it with my phone, leave it wherever I want. And I think that's what's needed right now, in fact, is that shift. I think that's crucial. Really sort of respect the individual, let us have a say, because by the end of the day, I think we can talk a lot about purpose. I think very few of us wake up in the morning with a mission to save the world. I think most of us just go to the little house, and if it's a good day, we push on the small flush button rather than the big flush button. And I think we gotta probably take things down a notch to save what we want to do one act at a time. A small act at a time will still do a big difference.
Very good insight, Thomas. Pepe, maybe we could see that video now, because I think it's a very beautiful case, and we close. And I have one last question for you two guys before you go, and we have 1 minute. Yep. Come on, let's see that video with a very nice example.
Only 6% of the works of art on display in Brazil are by women.
Female artists remain dramatically underrepresented and undervalued in the art industry.
Hershey's presents Her She. For the second year, on International Women's Day, Hershey's used its packaging to showcase the different talents of women who dream of making a living with their art. 320,000 of bars of the iconic milk chocolate were the starting point for a platform to support female artists in Brazil. An augmented reality experience gave life to each artist's work and invited people to know more about them. To promote the initiative, a music video featuring rapper and black feminist Isalu.
E deixa pra lá o que te desanimou, que tentou, errou, remou, contra eu vou.
To reinforce the brand's commitment, a box was sent to influencers and art lovers asking for more artists to take part in the virtual gallery.
Cada uma foi feita por uma artista, gente. É tanta mulher bacana.
Hundreds of women participated. They talked about it. Media talked about it.
Hershey's Chocolate is celebrating International Women's Day as well.
Essas artes fazem parte da plataforma Hershey, da Hershey's, que apoia e divulga o sonho de mulheres artistas.
Giving female artists more visibility. 1.3 billion total impressions. 30% organic growth on the artists' social networks. Hundreds of women artists feeling more confident.
Nas periferias, nas favelas, que seja possível essas pessoas realmente viverem da sua arte.
Her, She, supporting female artists, one bar at a time.
How beautiful is Portuguese,
Really nice.
my friend.
Really nice.
Well,
So this is what I like to say, that we love to put our technology at the service of diversity and inclusivity. I think that's a very important mission that we have in the team. We are also partnering with Cannes Lions, not only with sustainable brands, to achieve these things. And as you can see, this is the first time ever that a campaign that has co-creation at its heart has been recognized there with not only one, but 2 awards. I think that's a very important feat for us in our mission to do our moonshot. I think that's our moonshot, and this is exactly the role that we play, to make people wake up to this better way of doing things. And the last thing I'll say, Sandra, before I close my part, this is a really effective driver of sustainable behavior change. We will talk about that later. But it's a very effective driver, what we do here, and it's just, I'm blessed to have this opportunity to do this, and I'm just the voice of many people in my team trying to do the same, so thank you.
Thanks so much, Pepe. Very nice examples, very nice campaign. And for you too, before you go, a very easy one, creative question. Which is the Pantone of credibility, my friends?
Wow.
Well, that's my last question.
What's the
Pantone of credibility?
The Pantone of credibility.
When it comes to brands communication.
I would say white, because white is, sort of unlimited possibilities. It's the canvas of moonshots.
Not green, that's for sure.
Yeah.
White.
Yeah, I think
I
white
like
is
it.
a good color. It's not a color, but yeah. White,
Love
I'd
it.
say.
Could I say transparent?
I like that one. You are very clever.
Yeah, then I mean, credibility at the end is this, it's about transparency, credibility, self-definition, authenticity, also evaluation. I mean, it's all of these things, accountability. So it's what the brands stand for, but more than that, what the consumers believe the brands are. So, yeah.
Thanks, guys. I would be here all day talking to you, but they are killing me already. So thanks for coming. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Please.
so much.